Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 692, recorded on, December 21st. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have returning to the show, Voodu.
Hey, everyone.
Welcome back, sir. And then we also have Axel.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome. Let's see, this week's screenshot, Feta stops to smell the flowers in the 574th screenshot of the week. Thanks, Feta, for sending in this week's screenshot. Nice little storm horns shot. It's been a while, I think, since we've had a storm horn shot. So it's kind of fun.
I love the flowers in the foreground.
Yeah, it's a nice one. It's, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like storm horns is when they really kind of like upped the game in the art department in the landscapes. It doesn't say that they didn't have like really nice looking ones before, but like Stormhorns I recall Stormhorns like really standing out. Maybe it's because like
it's beautiful.
The flower realistic-y part of it. I'm not sure, but that's where I kind of remember that kind of hitting. But
I love that wilderness area.
Yeah, it's a really solid wilderness area. Let's see. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOCast.com. DDOCast has been hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network. Thank you, Cyber Ears. Goodbye. This will be the last show on Cyber Ears because they are shutting down in 10 days. So that's going to be a thing. Shows are usually available within a few days of recording. Okay, so let's talk about that briefly for a minute, because Cyber is shutting down. And I'll talk about some of this stuff a little bit later, more in detail. But you can still always get the show at YouTube, at DDOcast on YouTube, and DDOcast.com. You can also get the show there. That's not going to change. So if you're looking for past shows or whatever, those will be available for you. YouTube obviously is just the video version, but DDOcast.com has the audio version available to download, or you can play it on the website, as well as the video version, which it's just a link to the YouTube version, but same video. But so just make sure that everyone kind of knows where they can find that stuff in the future. If you want to send new folks to go listen to some of our older stuff, that's where you can for sure find that. And that's not going to change anytime soon, as far as I'm aware. So that's kind of where you can find that stuff. You can stay updated on kind of what's happening with DDOcast on social media. There's a Facebook page, Twitter. I think Twitter's still going to be around. Like, it's a little bit of a that's a little bit of a question mark too. But so those are places that you can kind of hang out. You can always keep an eye on DDOcast.com or any. It's also on the forums. Post all the videos there, although that's not necessarily easiest place to go back and find stuff. But that's where you can find the show. I'm not at least for the foreseeable long-term future. So that's kind of what's going on there. I'm not sure what's going to happen podcasty type. So, on the podcast this week, hey, it's the end of 2022, so we're going to talk about 2022 in review. That's kind of the gist of where we're going. And we'll actually just kind of jump right into that part. So let's talk about 2022 in DDO and how that went. There's a couple of things to highlight. Probably the biggest thing that I kind of want to just throw right off the gate. This was Tolero's first year as the new producer of DDO. I think she became the producer like December last year, or was it January? I'm not exactly sure when that transition happened. Happened somewhere in that range. So producer has been the new, or Tolero's been the new producer this year. And we started with the first content that got released was update 52.1, which was the new Snow Peaks challenge. They added another challenge and that kind of stuff. So that's, if you can remember, back then, that's where we started this year. It's always kind of weird. Like we were talking about, I think we said Axel's last time on the show was the last review show. It's always kind of fun to look back, right? Like, was it really? Does anyone else have that? Like, it was that long ago, but also, was that long ago?
Well, for me personally, this year actually seemed longer than say like 2021. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of crazy. So that was update 52.1 released on Thursday, January 27th. So that was how far back that was. I don't know. Do you guys want to talk about like just kind of step through things as they happened, or do you just want to kind of like for me to cover the whole year, or just kind of talk about it as a big giant clump?
I'm ready to go step by step.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
can go one by one, like update by update or event by event or whatever.
All right. Well, let's talk about update 52, patch 1, which was
So
kind
we
of
had the new Snow Peak challenge, right? And
Yeah.
I love when they add new stuff to the special events. And I was really glad to see them add a new challenge, although the one that they added, I think, was a dud. It was very tedious and long for the same reward. To me, that doesn't make sense. If you're going to make it like a lot longer and more tedious and more challenging, the reward should have been commensurate. It also was bummed. I was also bummed that we couldn't feed the the little prize, the little special thrower that you could find. You can't feed that to your sentient weapon. To me, if that alone would have made that worth running that pain in the butt challenge. But if it's the same reward for 3 times as much work, and I can't even get sentient XP out of that thing, then I'm just going to do the short one.
Mm-hmm.
See, I loved it. Like, I think I'm like the only player, it seems like, in DDO who actually likes platforming in the game. So I ran that a bunch just for fun, like, and with friends as well. I loved it. So I ran it a bunch, and yeah, it's not the most optimal way to get your ingredients by far, but the devs they knew that. They were pretty straightforward about that. That hey, this is not going to be the most optimal way to get the ingredients, but it's there for fun. So I thought that was all right. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like an optimal way to farm. It can just be something cool and different that's just there for entertainment. And it was like, I remember going in there, like eating a taken cookie and just getting good screenshots, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was. They did kind of attempt to make it like worth your while because there were more
Well, see,
ingredients
here's the
in
other
the
thing.
slide, but it was like not a ratio of time, like the same ratio of time. By
Right,
any
but here's
stretch
the
of
other
imagination.
thing, though. Like, and I think this is probably why they didn't do that. If they made it worth your while, you'd have people complain that, hey, why is DDO forcing us to do platforming? I think you would get that.
Sure, like try to make it even-ish.
People would feel forced if it was like the most optimal way to farm. People would feel forced to do platforming.
Yeah, but that snow
And
slide
there
is
would be,
so fast.
yeah,
Like
it would be tough for them to make it the most optimal. But if they did in any stretch, I think there'd be people complaining.
No. It was like the first time I did it, it was like this was a little annoying because like it's a little too easy to fall off in some of the spots. And then then like the second time I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I putting myself through this pain and suffering? And I went back to Snowslide after that. Like, yeah, like I mean, Voodu's right. Like adding more stuff is good. Like we want them to try things, so that means if we want them to try things, we have to give them the grace to make things that we don't like, right? Like so that happens. But yeah, that was oh boy.
Now, all other things equal, even if it was the same payout for ingredient, if just that special weapon had been feedable, I would have done that one. That alone would have got me to do that one every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they should do that.
I mean, we just
I guess
say,
there are
like,
concerns
sentient
about
XP
people.
And more stuff would just be better in general. But
I guess there are concerns about people farming sentient XP too efficiently. Maybe that's why. I'm not quite sure.
I mean, yes, that's a concern for sure. I'd like said like Salt Marsh has like 1,000 sentient XP gems. I would like sentient XP. Like, if you're running legendary content, I would like there to be a chance to drop sentient XP gems. It doesn't have to be 1,000. Like, it doesn't have to be that much, but like, just more of that throughout the game, which is kind of fun, right? I don't know.
I'd like to throw a data point out there. So, and I don't know where I fall in the player base, and I know there are players out there who have, a dozen or more sentient weapons that are fully maxed out. I have 2 that are fully maxed out, and one that's very, very close. We'll just say I have 3. The system's been around since Ravenloft. That's like 6 years or something. I have 3 sentient weapons that are maxed out, and I play this game like it's my job because it literally is, basically. And so it's not like it's sentient weapons gone wild here. It's not like I've, I wouldn't have had 50 weapons maxed out if they had let that be feedable, but I'm just throwing that out there. How many fully maxed out weapons do you guys have? I'm curious.
4. Just doing
I play like 2 to 3 sessions a week, and I don't even have 1 maxed out. I'm almost got 1 maxed out, almost. And I am sometimes feeding, giving stuff to feed to my secondary character, but I don't even have 1 yet. And that's what having all the.
I think it's good for our listeners to hear that. So if you're bummed out and you're thinking, oh, these guys probably have every last weapon maxed out, I sure as heck don't.
I have 4.5, and then I have a bunch that are like 5, like on secondary characters or tertiary characters, right? Like lower tier characters have, but like 5 is really easy. 5 is like what, 20,000?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get to.
Really
to get to 4 or 5.
But I have 4.5, and that's in large part because someone gave me a gift of one of the sentient boxes, which was like half of the last one. So, and look, even on that note, like I get that you don't want it to be like too easy, and you don't want to. I don't want us to get to another like an Amber Temple Reaper XP farm, right? Where it's like just run this one thing ad nauseum is the way to do it. Like that's trash, right? Like that's not a fun way to play, I think. And I think they're correct in like that's how you get burnout, and that's not good for the game. Like they fixed Amber Temple so it wasn't this like stupid Reaper XP farm. It's not like people have had problems getting Reaper XP since then, right? Like someone got Reaper wings on hardcore without that. So it's not that big of a deal to get Reaper XP. Like what's it matter if someone's got like 10 sentient gems that are maxed out? Like, that really breaking the game? If anything, that's getting them to spend more in sentient toolkits and pickers and whatever, right? And they're using more filigrees, which we have a bunch of. Really, I think you're right. Like, I don't think that harms anything in the game, right?
Plus, Snow Peaks is only around for a few weeks a year, and you got to have a key to run it anyway. So it's not like you can just freely run that all willy Nelson. You got to have a key to even get in there.
I will say the keys are really easy to get. Like the first iteration of Snow Peaks, they had that method, right? The champion's going to drop the key, and then they've taken that and put it into Night Revels and now Crystal Cove. Great changes. Love that. It's great. I am super happy with that.
Yeah, it's a good move.
Yeah. All right. So update 53, Hunter and Hunted, was released on February 24th. I'm not going to go through like each hotfix patch, right? We're just going to do kind of the highlights, and we can talk about some of the other things that are in there. And these are kind of like the highlighty things. So if there's other things you guys want to pull in, like they're really the small, tiny things, and you remember where they were, or we can talk about at the end. I don't care where you drop them in, but just so everyone knows, we're going to talk about the updates, not so much each individual patch and hotfix. So update 53, Hunter Hunted. So this was the raid, Hunter Be Hunted, as well as the 2 quests. And this is also when they made that change that a bunch of races were made free to play, and a couple of classes were made free to play. Basically, if you pull the 5th edition player's handbook, anything that's in there is free to play now. And that's when this change happened. So
I loved that.
Right.
And I really applaud that move, and I want to see a big free to play push in 2023. I want to see more free to play stuff.
Agreed.
And I'm still VIP. I'm putting that out there. I've been VIP for 13 years, and I'm going to keep being VIP. But I think the F2P free to play pushes are good for the game.
Yeah.
It was a much better look because I know before that, I mean, new players were just, they would create the first character and it would just say, buy it now, buy it now, buy it now, buy it now, beside all the races and classes. So yeah, it's certainly a great change. And I like Voodoo said, I really hope they make more of the really, really old content free to play because like how much money are they making off of selling like Restless Isles? Like why is stuff like that not free? I just can't. Let's just open more of that up, guys. And that's coming from somebody who pays for VIP, not all the entire year, but usually pays for VIP and does own everything premium.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily want them to like just need a bunch of that more stuff to be free. Like the races and characters, I think that was a really solid move because a lot of players are gonna, make a character. How many times have you met a player, right, a new player, and the first thing they do is make their pen and paper character, right? Because
what I did.
Bless them, they haven't learned yet that doesn't translate very well.
So many people do that.
But a lot of people do that, and if you're trying to do that, and you're from the 5th edition handbook, and half of it is premium, right? Like that's certainly not a great look. In terms of the content, I'm not sure if I'm totally on board with like to make a bunch of these free because one, they had that big push a couple times to just make like the free to play code, which made a bunch of content free, which was great. But I would say that I would like to see. I think the better place here is, I think every week some content should be on sale. There should be an adventure pack that's on sale every week.
I like that idea.
And it could be like a big sale, small sales, whatever, right? Like it can kind of come up and down a little bit on that. But if content is is a pretty big driver, right? I feel like we should be putting content on sale more. It's just me. I think it wouldn't be that big. I mean, there's how many adventure packs? There's
a lot.
Yeah,
500 million.
So many.
Well, actually, you just did a video, right? On this?
I know. I tried so hard to make it short, and I went as fast as I could through every pack, and it still took me over an hour of talking to do the whole video.
Should have broken it into a couple parts. Yeah. Do it like next time you do that. Like break it into chunks by level range.
Yeah. I did make timestamps, and the timestamps are like paragraphs long.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But I think if you made one pack on sale a week, like you could go the whole year and not repeat. Like there's a lot of packs. So
yeah.
But anyways, let's talk about Update 53's content really quick. Which I'll just jump in and say, my least 2 favorite quests of the year. Probably.
It was an underwhelming pack overall. I will say something like Tolgi Wood, I do enjoy when I'm in that particular mood, which isn't all the time. But if I'm in the mood, like I enjoy that. I actually got a pen and paper out when I ran that quest the first few times. I drew a map by hand so I knew where all the levers were, and I don't think it's a bad quest in theory, but maybe they could have made it a little less cumbersome with, maybe it was just too many levers.
We're talking about the portal one, right?
The Tolgi Wood, the one with all the levers. Yeah, with the portal.
Portals and levers, yeah. I mean, that's easily my least favorite quest of the year.
I knew right when I started running, I'm like, okay, regardless of how I feel, players are not gonna like this.
I do have a walkthrough of that for anybody who's interested in that. I thought the quests were flavorful. They're not super exciting or anything like that, and they're enjoyable enough. Through the Tolgi Wood though is it's a little bit of too much running our back and forth. It kind of seems like for the sake of running back and forth, but I don't know.
It's one of those quests that I'm not gonna say that I hated it, right? But it's just kind of like my least enjoyable one. Now, in fairness, I haven't run the newest quests like a ton. I think I've only run them like twice, maybe. Some of them I've run twice. I think one of them I've only run once. But it's, I don't know. It just turns in over itself so much, right? Like it's a little hard to get your head around, and in a game where I have so many choices at that level range in particular, because we are so bloated at the level 32 range, like ridiculously bloated at level 32. I just don't know why I would want to run a quest that is more difficult to hold in my head and memorize how to do it quickly and efficiently.
Well, yeah, and that's, I think, one of the problems I have with adventure packs these days is there's not a lot of incentive to actually run them beyond the first time bonuses because, like, why would you run the quest in Hunter and Hunted over, say, like the any of the expansion content that has a saga that has better gear with set bonuses? I don't know why you would run it. I don't know what they can do about that. Maybe add more sagas, but there's just not really much for a reason. What's that?
I think we just need to get out of level 32. I think if this is kind of more like bigger picture for the whole year, but there may be a theme here, so I'll kind of get into a little bit now. I think the biggest miss of the year may be that we only went to 32. And I don't think that was necessarily a terrible choice in the scheme of like leveling and how fast to level the player base. But there is such a bloat of content at 32. Like, we're talking, and when a big part of that too is not just the content, but the gear, right? If there's gear that people want, that will drive them to those quests more. But if you look at like these quests we're talking about right now, that gear is competing with Ravenloft, Sharn, Feywild, Saltmarsh, Isle of Dread. Like that's all basically because of the stat squish, right? Like everything's still like so much closer together than it used to be, right? So the loot has not been very interesting to me for a while because it's so similar to what I already have, and there's not always a like. Do I really want to play gear charters for this one piece that gives me a +1 here, a +3 in this spell power, or like such a small increment to like change the entire gear set? So I think we really just need to get away from... We need to outpace our content for a minute in the level range so that we can have that loot that is new and exciting again. Isle of Dread kind of got there, but it was, for my money, it was a little too like, whoa, big crafty system grindy thing. I don't know if you guys have thought.
Well, I'm getting the impression that they're going to do, like, my guess is they're going to release another expansion maybe like middle or end of next year with another level increase. So I know they eventually want to get to 40. So my impression is that they'll just continue to do, maybe with the next expansion we'll get up to level 35, and then maybe 2-3 years from now there'll be another one getting us up to maybe 38 or 40. But we'll see how it goes.
The increase to 32 was kind of a snooze. It just wasn't very exciting. We got a 4th core in the tree. That's not exciting.
Yeah.
In that Destiny trees. I think about, I've been around for the level cap from 20 to 25. That was huge. It's 5 levels compared to 2. Then the level cap increased from 25 to 28. That wasn't really that exciting. But from 28 to 30, I think that was a more exciting time. So this is, maybe this is just the little jump. Maybe when we jump to 35, it'll be more exciting.
Like, I will say that there are some positives to the small jump because I really like that all of the raids are still very relevant. I remember back when we went to 25 and like the old level 20 in game, a lot of those raids were pretty much obsoleted, and we went for a long stretch of time there where the end game wasn't great. The end game right now is still amazing, and all those raids like Killing Time and even the Ravenloft raids, those are all still pretty relevant.
So here's kind of what I mean by like I understand why they kind of wanted to go 30 to 32 and like a small jump, but I think they learned the wrong lessons a little bit in the lower jumps that we have. So you guys mentioned 20 to 25. That was a big jump. But part of the problem that was there was that it so outstripped the available content. Right? Because at the time you had, I think, so there was it was Money Underdark content itself, which was, what is it, like 12 quests in a raid? 11 quests in a raid, something like that.
Mhm.
There was Epic Sands, which is 4 quests in a raid. Epic Vault of Night, which is 4 quests in a raid. Well, a 2-part raid. Right. And maybe like Carnival.
Red Fens.
Carnival and Fens, right. But those quests kind of
knows.
translated to like 20, 21, 22 as base, right?
LOD.
So all of those we went from 20 to 25, but there was really no content between 23 and 25 that wasn't Menace to the Underdark when it came out, right? So it completely outstripped the content that was in that range. This time we went from 30 to 32, and all the legendary stuff we already had was 30 to 32, right? So we didn't. I feel like we needed to get to like 33, maybe 34, and have Isle of Dread really be in that upper range, because there's so much at 32 already. And Isle of Dread is, correct me if I'm wrong, but also level 32. Isle of Dread at least needed to be, even if the level cap didn't go to 30, past 32, Isle of Dread needed to be 33, 34. That's what I think. We're a little hard ourselves, though.
Yeah, I would have been okay with that.
We need to get out of that 32 range, because there's just too much there. And when you're talking about the loot, there's just too much there. Like, it's too much to compete with. It's hard to make good loot when you're competing with half the game's worth of loot. Having said that, okay, so those are the quests. Didn't really seem to excite anyone. Thoughts on the raid?
I enjoyed it. It's a fast and furious raid. It really keeps you on your toes. I feel like the difficulty is in a good place. I like the caster augment. I like that they, added something new that utilizes the Soulforge system. I really want to see that system expanded on. I really want to see them go back and add more items. Like, how about a heroic Litany of the Dead? We got the epic Litany of the Dead augment. Let's do that to the heroic. Let's go through and get a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, I enjoy the raid. I guess I probably stick the raid right about somewhere in the middle for me.
Yeah, it's okay. It took a while. I remember when it first came out. I think we were still at level 30 cap at that time.
Yep.
And I know my server struggled a bit with it even on normal for a while, but nowadays, pretty much in any just like true pug that you run, we're gonna breeze through it on hard even. So it's fine now. I mean, as far as the mechanics, I think they're okay. I will say I wasn't the biggest fan of the what are the ghosts or the spirits, whatever they're called in there, because it really punished you for bringing too many melees in there. I thought, just because on a melee you can't stand beside the ghost and also DPS the boss, so you just kind of have to hope you have enough casters in range. I never ran to that. I didn't run into that problem too much, but it is something that I was a little concerned about at the beginning, just because it does kind of incentivize you to not play melee in there. But it's okay. It's an okay raid. It's not. I don't like it near as much as, say, like the other raid we got this year, but it's all right.
I have 2 chief complaints with the raid, and they're generally fairly minor. One is like the maze section. The map is too lousy for a maze.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I wish they would make that better.
And I don't know if that's the map UI's fault, or if that's the map in theirs fault, or the design. Like, I don't mind the concept. Like, now, it's it's a decent concept, but the map is too unhelpful for a maze. That's kind of my thought.
Maybe
there.
that's by design. They wanted it to be mazy. They didn't want you to just be able to look at the map and know where to go. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, to an extent. But also the fact that I have a map, it's a little infuriating that it's like so tiny. But that again, that may be more like a less of a raid problem and more of a map UI larger problem.
Yeah, it's not too much of a problem as long people are split up and don't bunch up too much. You can pretty much cover every area, and people are learning where the various like purple and white spots are a little better. But yeah, I think it would have been an improvement. I see that maybe the devs intended that, but my guess is they didn't. They just didn't, for whatever reason, detail the map as well as I think they should. So I would like to see that changed.
The other quibble I have, and this is kind of a longer standing quibble with raid design, I don't like it when a raid has a sudden ramp up in difficulty spike at the end. And I'm looking specifically at those souls. Like going from 4 to 8 is a big jump. Because that's from a third of your party needs to get it to 2/3 of your party, some of which who probably aren't alive. And then like you lose 1 or 2 people. It just cascades so fast if you start losing people.
Afraid to recover from.
Yeah, and I'm not so much saying like it should be easy to recover from, but it's such a difficulty ramp that, and maybe it's just because like I have a long history of not really caring for that, because Vision of Destruction, like the exploding fire bats was kind of that. The Lord of Blades at the end kind of spikes a little bit too much. Like that's the difficulty can't increase, but like sometimes it's just too much of a spike in that regard, which is a little like I'm not really a fan of when it does that. Like Project Nemesis is a pretty decent, like that's a good spike. Too Hot to Handle is, I don't know if it's like it's not at the end that it spikes, but it can ramp up really fast. Just in general, the whole raid. But that's kind of that raid in a nutshell. So I'm kind of on the fence about that. But that was always kind of my problem with Hunter Be Hunted, is that when it goes from 4 to 8 souls, that's a lot. So
yeah, I agree with you on that. I would probably be more concerned about that if the raid wasn't short. But it being short, at least it being short, it's really it mitigates that a bit.
Okay, you say it's short, but like Lord of Blades, I would say is short now. But like when it came out and you could do the epic version, like that was a 40-minute raid on epic to get to the last fight, and then it was like this big spike, right? So that's kind of where some of that's coming from, is this history of raids being long and then having that spike at the end.
Yeah, I gotcha. I was just referring to Hunter and Hunted.
So there you go. Had some fun cosmetics that raid did, so that was kind of fun. Update 54. So this was in April 27th was in this released. There was no content with Update 54, but this is when pre-orders for Isle of the Dread came, which meant that this is where we got Tabaxi. Which I know there are a few people that were a little upset about the it not being what is it, Rakasta?
Rakasta.
Yeah. But I like Tabaxi. Tabaxi is fun.
It's a good substitute for Rakasta. Rakasta are a cat folk that's in the Isle of Dread module, pen and paper. And, Tabaxi, it's Coke and Pepsi. It's essentially the same thing. So like I'm totally fine with it. I think the Tabaxi looked beautiful, and I was pretty happy with that race. And a lot more people know what a Tabaxi is versus a Rakasta, which have a very tiny, tiny place in all of DDO Dungeons and Dragons lore, but Tabaxi are very well known, and they're just about the same thing,
Put me in the bucket of people who had never heard of Rakasta until Tabaxi got announced. Everyone's like, "Not Rakasta!" Like, what's Rakasta?
Yeah, I mean, there it was okay for me. I mean, I don't know. I'm just not really a fan. I'm much of a cat person, but it was fine. I haven't gotten a chance to level one from like 1 to 20 or anything. I played around with one on Lamania, but I mean, I think their enhancement tree is cool. The speed boost is really neat. That was a really good idea.
The speed boost was a really nice, possibly one of the top three, I would say, pen and paper to DDO adaptations, at least for races. Like you look at the racial ability and then like what we got in DDO, and it makes a lot of sense. So that was kind of neat. I'm not sure if I've ever really gotten over how much like a humanoid lion they look. that like not as a criticism, but like it was a bit of a shock value. Like I don't know that I thought of Tabaxi as being that lion like. And it's really their mains. Like the mains are very, very lion like for me.
Because you can take that off, and
Sure.
I want to say special mention I didn't notice this until it was brought to my attention, but they have the pupils that move or
The
something like
blinking
that,
eyes.
and that
Yeah. The eyes blink.
and it just brings them to life.
Uh-huh.
They're so quirky looking, and I just love it. And there's so many different combinations that yeah, I think they did a nice job, and I really like the different combinations that you can come up with.
I like the monk iconic. That was a nice iconic as well. I continue to like how the iconic is not what you would like think it like it wouldn't be the thing that you'd probably think of first, but it works really well and has a different dynamic to the game. So, update 55, of course, is where we got Isle of Dread. So this was Wednesday, June 22nd. So we got Isle of Dread. We went to level 32, which of course meant that there were new Destiny cores, there were new feats. Yeah. Let's talk about either one of those. Probably Isle of Dread first.
I was most excited for 2022 than I have been for anything in DDO probably since Menace of the Underdark. So for 10 years. And but at the end of the year, I'm not very enthusiastic about 2022. I mean, I had huge hopes for Isle of Dread. Maybe I set myself up for failure. I just had too big aspirations for it. But I definitely wanted Isle of Dread to be bigger, and I definitely wanted it to be a little more true to the module. I think there are some really easy ways they could have done that by representing more of the encounters in the wilderness area as like maybe mini quests, and they could have padded the number of quests. I think they could have very easily added 4 mini quests and then marketed it as a 16 quest pack instead of a 12 quest pack, and been not only that's a nicer number to market the expansion pack as, but it would also could have been a little bit truer to the module, even though they would have been simple quests. You like to see the classic modules brought to life in a way that most accurately depicts the actual module and even the little details, even though these might have been little details. And but I do think that Isle of Dread is absolutely beautiful. And prior to this, nobody had ever brought Isle of Dread to life in a video game before. So it just existed in our imaginations and the few illustrations from the module. And I think that visually, it's awesome. I think they nailed it, and I give the art department an A+. That the way that I imagined Isle of Dread is, I think they nailed it. I think the dinosaurs are beautiful. The Brontosaurus is incredible. That's definitely a highlight of the year. When I think about the year, the first time I saw Brontosaurus, I was just like in awe. It was incredible. But I wanted to see it bigger. I wanted to see it a little more true to the module, and I'm not crazy about the loot. I don't like the dinosaur bone crafting system. I think it's too restrictive. I do like the augments. Nice augments in Isle of Dread. But I definitely wanted more out of Isle of Dread.
Disappointing loot, fun augments could be like a trait, like the theme for the year.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you.
Yeah, I like
mention
the
the one
expansion a
place they
lot.
did well with loot across the board.
Yeah, I definitely have more good things to say than bad. I agree with Voodoo with some of the things he's saying there. Like, I would have liked it better if it would have had just a few more quests and like one more raid, even if it was a small raid like VOD style or something. I would have been okay with that, but I think it needed a little bit more content. But overall, I mean, it looks beautiful. The dinosaurs look great. I love the raid that we did get. It's one of my favorite raids in the really for probably my favorite raid since Strahd, I would say. I like the crafting, although I see what Voodoo's saying. Are you referring more to the items? Because I think it would have been nice if there were more options for the item accessories.
Yeah, the dinosaur bone crafting, all of it. I think every tier is too restrictive. I wish they had
Yeah.
just instead of like having the fang and the claw and the scale slide, like have just more of it be anywhere you want. And some of those lists were so short, and other lists where at first glance it looks like it's big, but then you realize it's almost just an A or B choice. Like it's either have a stat or a spell power. It looks like 15 things, but it's
Yeah.
really just, do you want, fries or mashed potatoes?
Yeah, and I've been running the raid a lot, trying to get because some of those augments only drop in the optional chest in the raid. Some of some of the really nice new augments. I don't know if you're aware of that, but in those
I'm
optional
aware.
chests, there's some really nice augments for the weapons. So, and I did end up crafting a weapon, and I'm really liking the weapon. But I haven't crafted any of the items yet. Like I agree. I can't really see myself using one of the artifacts.
I think I will end up using an artifact on my TR build just because I think I can. It might actually be worth the swap there. But I'm not on my Alchemist TR build at the moment because I finished those lives. So we'll come back to that maybe. But I like the crafting. I like crafting system. Having a crafting system. I think I'll say what Voodoo said. I think, but in a slightly different way. I don't mind that there's the options. It's that there's too many slots to put the options in. Like it's a little too. It's masquerading as a bigger crafting system than it is. That's kind of
Yes.
how I think about it. Like it looks like, oh, there's all these slots and all these things, like, but there's not that much to do with it. Now Axel did mention the stuff that's in the raid, which is I think a fun little way of doing that, except for what has become one of my newest pet peeves in DDO. All raid gear should be available for runes. Period.
I agree.
Like, tomes, fine. Like, you can get tomes, you can buy a tome. Doesn't need to be, I don't need to include tomes in this, but like, the sentient gem from Strahd, the cubelet from Caught in the Web, these fancy augments, I don't care if they cost more, but everything should be available to buy with the raid runes. Period. You can pull it.
Yeah,
you
at a
still
minimum,
get it.
they should add that at least at some point. Even if they don't want to right now, they should at some point.
So that's one of the two things that I dislike greatly about the raid. The other is that the optional was a really cool social experiment. Props for having doing that and figuring that out. And Voodoo and I have talked about this before on the show. 37 copy and paste is excessive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dear Lord, it's excessive.
Yeah. Oh, so much.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, what I would like to see them do is make it so you can do it maybe 5 copy and paste. Just let us copy all of the sentences for each of the corners
Give me a
one at a
dialogue
time.
box so I don't have to copy and paste the damn thing from some little folder file that I've got somewhere that maybe I don't have 2 screens and it's a pain in the ass. Right? Like,
It's a lot of alt tabs. Yeah, I just did it yesterday. Yeah, it's a lot.
if it was 37 dialogue box selections, I would still say it's excessive, but it would be a third of the excess that copy and paste is. Dear Lord, guys. But
I'd
hey,
like to double down on something that Axel said. He said it was his favorite raid since Strahd, and I'm going to take it one step further and say this is my favorite raid in the entire Standing Stone Games era. I do enjoy this raid. I think it's cool. I'd probably tweak some things about it, and I just want to say, and as tedious as the /say thing is, I absolutely love and wanted something like this in the game for a long time. That there is an optional to do while you're dead. That there's actually
yeah,
a task to do when you're dead. I think that part is really cool.
and I think the other fun part about it is like props to the people who hammered away at this for now. I do feel that there should have been a little bit more in the game to say no. There is an optional, right? Like I feel like
never
that,
in a million years would have even known that existed. I never even once knew the text was there in any quest.
Yeah. So like the only way that people were like the only reason people kept going after it is because like after a couple months, I think Jerry was like, yeah, no, there's something there. You just haven't figured it out yet, right? And then no, it was off to the race. Like so, I feel like there needed to be some clue, like even if that chest just was there and couldn't be opened, to just say like, no, there's something here. You just haven't figured it out yet, right? And I love that it took what 2.5. When did we figure this out? Like a month ago?
3 months.
So well, yeah, what came out in end of June, and it took until November, like early November, I think, to figure it out. That was cool, right? Like, I like that. Like,
Yeah, I do too.
having more of that, like that hidden stuff, is really fun. It kind of reminiscent of that dagger, that was kind of really obscure, like how to unlock the dagger. So that kind of stuff is fun. We like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying, Patrick, but at the same time, I wonder if they would have made it even more obvious if we would have not figured it out in the first week. Maybe they did have to make it that cryptic so that the community took 3-4 months to figure it out.
I'm on board with the 3 to 4 months. I just wish there was something in the game that said it was a little more clear about, yes, there is actually something here, right? Like I said, so Isle of Dread in general, well, kind of what you guys said on the raid. I think it's easily my favorite raid in the current game. By what I mean by that is, as more my characters and power level are right now, it's a really fun raid. The T-Rex looks amazing.
Yes, it does,
Like-
especially when it's green.
Oh yeah, the purple T-Rex is kind of annoying.
Yeah, purple's
green,
whatever, but the green looks
the
awesome.
green is like, oh,
Yeah.
this thing is awesome. Like, Lord of Blades had, like, the first time I saw a splash screen with Lord of Blades, I was like, that's the coolest raid boss we've ever had, right? Like, it's in terms of looks, this blew that out of the water, and nothing's come close for me since Lord of Blades, right? All the raid bosses we've had since Lord of Blades till then, not Lord of Blades is still cooler. That T-Rex is cooler than Lord of Blades by a long shot.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And I would say in terms of like the new stuff we got in Isle of Dread in terms of monsters, the T-Rex looks great. Like the T-Rex
25% bigger. That's what I want. But yeah, it looks great.
You can make bigger T-Rexes and smaller T-Rexes. Like, that's a thing we can do. But in terms of like how it looks, how it moves, what it can do, 10 out of 10. Like the T-Rex blew everything out of the water. Huge success. Everything else was a little underwhelming, right? Like it, and I think it has less to do with the like their raptors just don't, and the Triceratops, Prototops, or whatever. Like, they don't really do a lot of really interesting things. The Triceratops has like stompy attack. That's kind of cool, and whatnot. Like, so there's fun mechanicsy stuff. But the T-Rex just looks so sharp. Really happy with how the T-Rex looks. So happy, in fact, I wish there were more T-Rexes. Just where
I'd like to
there
gripe
will
about
be.
something about the raid, though.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be all positive about it. No, I just, when you fight the Hand of Vecna for the optional, I really don't like that from, I like to play tanks. From the tank's perspective, all you can see is the forearm, so it's really hard to
Yeah.
see when that hand turns. It'd be nice if there was, can we give him like a forearm tattoo so we can tell when,
I have the solution for you.
somebody stands back and tell you when
Nope.
it turns? I don't know.
Nope. I have the solution
What's
for
the
you.
solution?
So you know how you have the circle on all mobs? They should stick an arrow on them to fit which way is facing forwards.
Yeah.
No, that would be cool.
That's one solution. Or if I could back the camera out more,
Yeah.
problem solved. as well. But it's just you're just like,
It's
this
lost
is
all
the
over
hand
again,
of
right?
Vecna, and this little frog is the tank, and you're just like right here,
Yeah.
and all you see is the forearm. You can't see which way the hand's facing because Vecna's forearm looks the same from front and back.
The eyeball thing is the Medusa laser eyes is a little buggy too, but here's the place that Isle of Dread, like in terms of replay value, I enjoy running the quests, like running the quests over and over again. And totally, like, there's not a quest there that I really dislike. The last one's a little bit longer, but I don't hate it or anything, right?
I'm not crazy about the crab one. The whole doing the puzzles to pull the
so
levers.
short. That one, I don't have an issue with the quest, and mechanically it's a little quirky. Like the timing of getting the arrow to fire and hit the crab when it needs to hit the crab is a little quirky, but other than that, it's. But
wish they had just done like straight draw and pull like they do for Three Barrel Cove ballistas.
Just hit the crab with the thing and I'd be fine. Like the having to hit it in like this 3-second window is a little annoying. Yeah, good luck doing that. So I'm not kidding. But here's where Isle of Dread fell the flattest for me. In terms of the story was just super lacking. Like I look at the other expansions, and I think it's a better expansion than the Shadowfell Conspiracy. Which Shadowfell Conspiracy, I think I put at the lowest of expansions. Not to say it's bad, but I think it's my least favorite expansion.
Oh, hands down.
But it has 5 times the story that Isle of Dread has.
That's a reflection of the module, though. In fact, I think that's kind of why they put Vecna into it, to give it more of a story. I mean, the Isle of Dread module is just like, hey, there's a mysterious island to go explore. Go explore. It's a sandbox. So it's not a story-driven module.
Sure.
So I personally don't fault them for that.
Look, that's like his fault. I'm just saying, like, that's where it falls on. Now, Vecna saves that from being a no storyline for me. Like, the fact that Vecna is there, like, brings it from out of, like, death to, like, there's a story there, but there's, like, really not much of a story there. But Vecna's really cool, though. I mean, Vecna looks great. So
he does look great, and he sounds great, too.
And I'm excited that he's going to continue forward. And I can't wait to see how we ignore him for the next 6 years.
I don't think we're going to. I think he's going to have a presence.
Yeah, well, people were saying about that about Grizzit when he popped up in the mines. So
Well, I mean, look.
Well, Vecna already popped up in Grip.
The mysterious stranger from Feywild was Vecna, so we now know that. So he's been around, and we've had these cult of Vecna guys. Like this is a long-term thing. It's Vecna. It didn't just appear in Isle of Dread. This has been building to this, and I think they're going to keep going with it. And in fact, I heard that maybe some devs said that they're going to keep going with the Vecna stuff.
Probably. I'm poking less fun about Vecna and more about other stuff.
I could be wrong. But yeah, they're definitely building something with the Planar Eyes story, clearly. We'll see where it leads.
Well, should we talk about level 32? I think we hit Isle of Dread pretty good. Good in terms of like in the review, one thing I really want to highlight is I enjoy running Isle of Dread continuously. Like I'm still enjoying the quests. I think that's important to say at the end of 2022 since it's a year in review show, right? Update 32. I don't know. Do we need to say more about it? Was kind of flat. Didn't really. Yeah, we got new cores, some of which are good.
Yeah, I'm ready for them to start bundling. They need to talk to Flo from Progressive and learn how to bundle because I'm ready for there's definitely some things that can be merged together there, and then there's too much stuff in these dual trees that are just applying to one thing or the other. So let's start making some multi-selectors. So that's how we can bundle. Take the caster thing and take the range thing, put it in one as a multi-selector. That frees up more to do some more creative things. I don't want to throw away the new Destiny system. I think it's a good start. I'm ready for them to tweak it, and I definitely miss Twists of Fate.
Yep. I kind of wonder if what would have made it legendary a lot more shiny it was if at level 31 you got a 4th tree that you could like cherry pick something out, like a la Twist of Fate.
Yeah, I want to choose your own destiny. Tier 1, choose any 5.
Yeah,
Tier 2, choose any 5.
Like I feel like the thing that I kept coming back to for when we went to 31, 32 was, boy, 31 would have been really neat if there was a 4th destiny slot that you could use. Maybe not a full tree. I don't even think there's enough points to like really utilize a 4th tree in general, but something to do with like a 4th, like pick a 4th tree and do something with it. That makes sense. I like that.
Yeah, even if it was a single line, you get one tier 1, one tier 2, one tier 3, one tier 4, or something. The lack of Twist of Fate, being able to pull 5 things from any other destiny was so helpful. Situational, that situational ability to twist in Energy Sheath was huge, and they've taken that away from us. I mean, Energy Sheath is basically no more. The new version of it is way up there, and it's only for your chosen element. It's, obviously nobody's going to take that destiny just for that. Well, I don't know, but in any event, it's not convenient to just switch destinies real quick, or maybe they intended maybe that 3rd one to be that swap destiny. I don't know, but
if nothing else,
I remember having a conversation with you earlier this year, Patrick, about how this system was sold to us on its versatility, and I'm not sold on that.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, if nothing else, I'm not sure if the 3 tree limit is necessary for balance. I wonder if they'd ever consider removing that, kind of like in the heroic enhancements, you don't have a 3 tree limit.
We have a 6 tree limit, plus the racial. I mean, I don't know that there's enough points to spend in a 4th tree, but like, wouldn't it be cool if like, okay, you're level 31, pick one level 1 tier 1 ability from any tree that you don't have. Slot it, right? Like a twist. And then maybe at level, I don't know, 34, you pick one at level 2, right? And then at level 37, you pick one at level 3, and at level 40, you pick one at level 4 from any tree, like a twisty thing, right? I think that would be really interesting. But it just felt like, look, here's bottom line. 31, 32, here's a 4th core. That was the only thing that changed besides more points in the destiny trees. And that's where it fell flat. That was kind of like, it was just lackluster.
And they added new feats too, I believe, right?
Yeah, they did.
I thought they were the new feats. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that yet.
Go for it.
I thought they were a bit of a dud, especially the ones the combat ones that were intended for you to use a different combat style. I never understood that. I remember reading that for the first time, and I was like, wait, but that's not going to work, because the way the sentient weapon system works is it disincentivizes you from switching weapons. So how am I supposed to switch my 2-handed fighter to using 2 weapons or whatever? Like, why would I ever do that? I don't.
Previous
I don't
conversation about sentient weapon XP.
I like immediately when I read the release notes for the first time, like I was actually streaming it, and I was like, wait, am I missing something? Is there something I'm not getting? Like, this makes no sense. Like, no, why would anyone ever do this? I don't get it. I guess there's some applications for, I guess, like sword and board characters, but other than that, I'm not sure, because you could take I guess 2-handed fighting feats or something, but if you're sword and board and utilize that, if you're
hand and
what?
half weapons.
Yeah, hand and half weapons. Yeah, but other than that, I'm not sure what the point is.
I can't at all speak to the melee stuff, but I definitely appreciate those caster feats that are like, hey, if you have the 3, spell focus, greater spell focus, epic spell focus in this line, you can just get 1 to get the equivalent of that in another school. I really like that.
That's probably the best feat.
I like that legendary toughness doesn't have prerequisites. So, like, I'm actually taking that on Voodoo because there just wasn't anything else that I wanted. So I like the new caster feats.
Yeah, there's a couple that work pretty good. There's a couple that are like, maybe not. More feats is good. We'd like even more feats that are better. Unless
I mean, I guess just having choices is fine, I guess. I mean, not everyone min maxes. I mean, some people just want to say, hey, I just want to play
Sure.
2 weapons on my character, even though there's no practical reason to it. I guess it's fun for people who just run flavor builds or whatever.
I will sort of come back to this as kind of my overarching end thoughts, but I don't want to go there quite yet. But should we move on to update 56?
Sure.
This was released on August 31st. This was the Temple of Elemental Evil revamp. I see Voodu's note here. Yeah, right. I don't hate that they did this. I think it's a. Let me put it this way: the new Temple of Elemental Evil is a vast improvement for me on the old Temple of Elemental Evil. Still too many mobs. Like, it's, especially the elemental nodes, like, it's super grindy because it's just like packs of mobs everywhere. They don't have a lot of hit points, but they're just packs of mobs everywhere. It lacks. Here's the best way I can put, like, the especially the nodes. They lack interesting, different fights. Not to say there aren't some, but there's not a lot. It's basically the same mobs over and over and over in each node.
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest. Temple is before it was changed, it was my least favorite quest in the entire game, mostly because it was too much of a slog. There's too many mobs everywhere, and I'm going to be honest, I still haven't stepped in there since they revamped it. But I need to, for sure. I think it was a bit of a letdown. I mean, I know nobody was expecting that to be the pack that revamped this year, because this was the first time, as far as I'm aware, they took a pack that was epic, then brought it to legendary instead of just adding another layer of content to a heroic only pack, which is I think is what everyone was expecting for them
Isn't
to
it
pick one of the
already
heroic.
legendary?
It was already legendary.
Yeah.
Oh, was it already? Oh,
Yeah.
Temple was? Was it? It was
Yeah.
30, and then they brought it to what? 34?
Maybe. I don't know. Here's the
Something
funniest
like
thing about
that.
the whole thing. They
But it
told
wasn't a
us they were going to
significant change.
revamp a classic pack. And we all just assumed that it was like an older DDO pack, not a classic module pack.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So-
will say that I've never had I have no history with the Temple of Elemental Evil module, so I don't have that emotional connection, that pen and paper connection. I'm an old pen and paper guy, but I just never dealt with Temple of Elemental Evil anything in any form. So, because it was so long and grindy, I never touched it. When I get to cap, I do 90% of my legendary Reapers for first time Reaper XP. But there are, 10% of those quests that I skip because they're too long and grindy. Temple of Elemental Evil was on that list. So maybe this will make me revisit it, but I think I've done maybe 3 of the parts, once, and I'm not really excited about it, and it doesn't make me want to like jump in there, and I'm just like, whatever.
Well,
It's
the
this
player.
thing that's
If you
there that
know
I'll
how
get
to
to someday.
do, so here's the thing: if you know how to do 1 and 2 of, so the 2 parts of the first half, part 1, like if you know how to do those, you can crank through those pretty quick, and they're pretty good. But it's kind of like Haunted Halls in the fact that you could also spend like an hour in there exploring around, or you could do it you'd be done in 10 minutes, kind of thing. The nodes are a hell of a lot better than they were because there's guiding lights that take you to where you need to go. So there's a path that you can follow, as opposed to searching around for the little tiny thing that you have no idea where it is and it moves around and that kind of thing. So that was good. I'm not sure the light system was maybe a little buggy and wasn't always super helpful. It could be a little better, but it's there and it's better than what it was. But it's still, the nodes especially, it's just pack of mobs, same mobs over and over and over. Ooh, a dragon! Mobs.
Temple of Elemental Evil is at the very, very, very top of the list of content that I don't know and have run the least.
Mhm.
That, along with like Terminal Delirium. I just never run that stuff, and I don't know it at all.
Yeah, Temple's at the top of the list for me too.
I've still run it more than I've run Study and Sable and Brothers of the Forge. So,
Not
yeah.
me. I haven't run Study and Sable and Brothers of the Forge a bunch, but I've definitely run them more than Temple of Elemental Evil and Terminal Delirium.
again,
Well,
so go back to my earlier conversation, right? There's so much content in this level range. We need to get out of this level range because you just said it, Voodoo, right? Like, there's so much content there. I run 90% of it except for the long stuff. Like, if it's over 15 minutes, why run it?
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to be that popular. I think I've seen, since it was revised, I've seen one LFM for it that I can remember seeing.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like anybody's running it. At least I'm not seeing it on the Falanis LFM page.
Again, the loot's not great. It does have one of my favorite cosmetics, though. The mushroom hat is great for a monk.
Yeah, like I did look through the loot list. It looks to see if there's anything in there I'd want, but it looks interesting. It has some set bonuses and things in there, but I didn't find anything that I wanted on any of my characters personally.
It's too horizontal with everything else. Again, previous thing. Some other stuff we got with update 56. The big thing is archetypes, right? So we got the 3 new archetypes. Kind of fun, I think.
They personally didn't generate any interest for me. I will play the Bard eventually, but I haven't played any of them. So I think it's cool that they're doing this archetype thing. And I'm looking forward to more. I really hope they haven't given up on iconics. I'm hoping we're going to see more iconics in the future. We still have Sork, Druid, Monk, Warlock as free-to-play classes that lack iconics. And
we
still want to see... What?
Trailblazer has Monk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Okay, scratch Monk. But I still want to see iconic completionist. And I would like to state this, if they don't want to just do another +2 to all ability scores and +2 to all skills. How about this? This is my pitch. Iconic completionist, and you get to have a second iconic past life stands active. Instead of just one. You can have a second one.
Okay with that. As long as they give us some decent active past life. The Trailblazer active one's kind of lousy.
Yeah, and I believe Cordovan did say, or at least strongly hinted, that there will be more archetypes in the future. So I'm sure there will be more.
I don't think they're giving up on archetypes or iconics.
I really have wanted to run a Sacred Fist and Dark Apostate, but I haven't gotten the time. Yeah. But I think Dark Apostate's it's in a cool spot where it's like a melee caster hybrid, and Cleric didn't really have that before. So I think that's a cool spot. I want to try that. I just haven't gotten a chance, and it did convert certain divine spells like prayer to being like offensive things. I think that was a neat idea, but I really want to try that at some point whenever I can make the time.
The other 2 things we got with update 56, the bank got revamped, bank and Char Cash got revamped, and Crystal Cove got updated.
I love the bank updates. I don't want to harp on the bugs. They're mostly smoothed out. There's still some lingering things. I love it. Searchable, sortable TR cache just makes me want to weep with tears of joy.
It's true.
Searchable is very nice. I personally didn't really
so overwhelmed. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I didn't really care that much personally about the bank update. I mean, having the search is nice, but I'm not really someone who has tons of different gear sets to where I really needed the different tabs to organize everything.
I mean, just searching by level range is TR cache is really helpful. That's what I use more than anything else. The level range.
I just wish they could offer account-wide inventory search. That would be the thing that gets me super excited about a bank revamp. I would love to see them do that. There are certain fan applications that already do that. I don't know if SSG can figure something out, but I would love to see that.
By the way, just gonna pull this little nugget out. So this came out in August 31st. Granted, there were some bugs. We had some issues. I don't think they got resolved for a couple months. But where's our promised more bank space?
Yeah, they added 2 personal bank spots. They added 20 more to personal bank.
Did they?
But yes, a shared account bank. We need more of that, and I suspect it'll come soon. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't come yet. But they said they wanted to iron out things first. I'm thinking that's right. That's got to be on right over the horizon.
Next time there's bank on, I should check to see if there's bank space that I don't have when it goes on sale.
Personal bank space.
Yeah.
Should be 20 more slots there for you.
Update 57 dropped on Wednesday, November 9th. This is Grip of the Hidden Hand. This is also the Hit Point Pass and the Imbue update. I feel like the Hit Point Pass is a success. My tank doesn't feel like he lost a lot of hit points, if any. I don't know what the number was before and after because I'm not that kind of guy. But my tank hit points seem fine. I tell you, I really noticed the rogues having more hit points. Not so much the caster because I don't think I play them as much outside of Alchemist, but wow, the rogue when I put their rogue past life, I really noticed the extra hit points in heroics. So I think that's a pretty solid win, right?
I think so, yeah. I think my main character got something like 150 hit points from the update. So yeah, that was cool. Not going to complain about that.
Yeah, I definitely won't complain about the buffs to heroic durability. I'm glad that they added the shield styles to benefit from that percentage increase as a combat style or whatever. I was never a fan of epic defensive fighting and how they're implementing. So I'm really glad that epic defensive fighting is gone. I never liked how they're trying to implement like we just want to give this bonus to certain play styles and this imaginary creature that's called a melee. Because there are hybrids out there that are suffering. That like they want this, but they exist in a weird state where it's like, no, thou shalt not have this because we don't feel like you're a melee, and just give it to everybody. A rising tide lifts all boats. If you want to give free hit points out, then just give it to everybody. Because there's some people that should have it that can't get it, and there's some people that shouldn't have it that are getting it. Hey, my throwers got all these extra hit points now. Yeah, because that's who needed it was throwers, right? But yet the other hybrid that wanted it, can't because reasons.
I think it was one of those mechanics that it made sense on paper, but in practice, it just wasn't, for the majority of players, it just wasn't fun to have your range limited like that. And like you said, like caster players really looked at that and they felt like they were missing out on something. So I see what they're going for, and I'm actually like one of the players who actually I would keep it on a hotbar and turn it on and off on my main character. So I think that's what they were going for to make an interesting choice for maybe hybrid characters or something. But yeah, it just players just didn't like it, so probably a good change to make it go.
The one
I play
place...
hybrids, so
Yeah.
F me. I don't get to benefit from so much of this.
Well, I used to
place
turn it
I
on and off a lot, and then at some point, like this past year, I just when I had enough primal past lives, I felt like my hit points were in a pretty good spot without it, so I stopped using it for the most part.
The one place I'm a little down on the hit point pass is I'm not super happy that some of the trees that have the hit points are like a multi-selector with a DPS option. Or like any option. Like they should just be in the tier 5, right? Like everyone should just have access to something in tier 5. Right? Like why are we making some trees choose between, oh, you can have this extra really nice DPS like a crit multiplier or hit points? Pick one. That seems like a stupid choice to me.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I also don't really get some of the other changes, like the change to animal domain for clerics. I don't really understand why that was necessary, but
I think it's all
overall,
hit point math, right?
I guess they thought it was too strong. I don't know.
I think part of it may be like you kind of have to wonder if they're looking at hardcore and being like, how come every cleric's picking animal domain?
Well, every heal bot does pick it because it doesn't make any sense to take. It's really the best choice by far. It still is, I think. So I don't know. Maybe it was okay, but
I think that was. I'm suspicious that was kind of part of it. The Imbue update I think is interesting. It's still kind of, I think, panning out. I like it though. I've been playing in Inquisitive the last couple lives. So using the imbues and the plus dice in here and there, I still think there should be more in the Epic Destinies. I don't understand why you make this system and then like barely support it in Epic Destinies. That's kind of weird to me. But I'm enjoying it. It's another way of thinking about building, and I think multi-class is better than the old system.
Yeah, I wish there were more toggles available because like right now on my main character, I'm getting extra imbue dice from Harbinger of Madness feat. I think that's what the feat's called, but I can't use it because I don't have access to a toggle. Because the imbue dice only counts if you have a toggle activated, but I don't have access
Right.
to one, so I don't benefit from it.
It's almost like
So
there
it'd
should
be nice.
be, I don't know, a couple of Destinies that had a toggle you could turn on or something like.
Or maybe just make a
Yep.
default toggle that doesn't add anything inherently, but if you get extra imbue
Ooh,
dice from a
interesting.
feat, you can just toggle that on and benefit from it.
Or maybe a feat that has like the groundwork is here, right? Like that's the good thing. I hope
Yep.
they pull the system out a little bit more and expand it. Like I said, I've been harping on it from pretty much day one that the Destinies should support this system more because like Destinies support other systems, but why not this system, right? But I think we could see some feats maybe that pull those in. That would be kind of neat. Give you, I think a feat that's like here's a D6 damage toggle or something. That seems reasonable to me. Kind of fun little thing. I don't know. Also, I think most fighters like the only class that doesn't have a toggle, isn't it? Like almost everybody else has one at somewhere.
Casters don't really have them.
The wizards and sorks do.
They do.
Yeah, Eldritch Knight.
Well, but yeah, then you have to be invested into the Eldritch Knight tree.
Well, yeah.
Well,
what I mean is like every class has like a tree that does it.
and I think with cleric, I think it's only in War Priest. I'm trying to remember. I think
Yeah,
so.
I think
I
War
know it's
Priest
on Radiant
or the
Stone.
Apostate.
I think it's in Tier 5 War Priest, but no one's going to do that because that tree is bad.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot more options I think you might be given credit for, but I don't think that changes the fact of like, it'd be kind of fun to have like a mage initiate or an Eldritch Knight initiate feat, right? That like here's an imbue for like pick an element, and here's an imbue for that element or something like that, right? Like that would be kind of interesting. I mean, hell, just initiate feats in general. Like here's a little thing from different classes. That could be kind of fun. We talked about more feats anyways, so.
I do appreciate that they're trying to, conceptually, they're trying to streamline all these little systems into one system, and that seems like it's probably good for the game and good for performance and stuff.
Yeah.
And easier for them to link up with.
And for building, I think.
Yeah, and like you said, Patrick, it's a good start. They
Mm-hmm.
can tweak it going forward, and I bet they will.
Look, it's fun to play with a little bit. I don't feel like it broke the game from a DPS standpoint, so that's a win. Should we talk about Grip of the Hidden Hand, the content?
Yeah, sure. What did you guys think? I thought it was kind of an average pack overall.
Yeah.
I like the
I
variety.
like that there's variety, yeah, but and they did the same thing that they had a lot of variety in the first Planar Eyes pack. I'm definitely a bigger fan of the first Planar Eyes pack than this one, although I do appreciate and enjoy the variety. I just kind of just feel averagey about the quests overall.
I think they're fine. Again, I think that another theme for the year is like I feel like we need to push the level higher and get these new quests away from quests that already exist. And get some space there. Give me more reasons to run them better. Like gear that's a little bit better than what I already have, different, higher level, more Reaper XP. I don't know what it is, but it just needs to get away from 32. There's too many 32s.
I would have loved to see, and the same kind of goes with the Hunter and Hunted pack. I would have loved to see them put. I know they probably won't do this because they want that stuff in expansions, but I would like to see them put some of the shard and set bonuses, like give extra options for those set bonuses in the loot from this pack, and then the same with the Feywild set bonuses in Hunter and Hunted. I would have loved to see that.
You can make the augments, right, to get some set bonuses. And a lot of the set bonuses are stacky anyways. There's a lot of set bonusy options, but I hear what you're saying. Like a little more set bonusy stuff.
Like give me more options for the part of the family set or something. Like
sure.
Give me more options.
There's a few. You just have to do a lot more gear work.
Yeah. Or give me like an option on a different slot.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, I kind of like it when a pack is a little more like varied. Like the player, that's the perils and grip of the hand like strength, right? Like it's what is it, 9 quests that are just like all over the place in terms of where you are and like what you're fighting and stuff like that. Like they're very varied quests in terms of aesthetic and what's going on and stuff like that. So
I really like the aesthetic in some of them. Like the
Mhm.
first quest is really cool where you go start in this library, then you go through the woods, and then you end up in a town, and there's that winding staircase in the middle. The boss at the end of the first quest looks really cool. That's probably my favorite quest. I think the
I
Feywild
like
one's
that
pretty
one.
cool too. But I
It
think
just
the
it
first
felt
one's my
like
favorite.
exactly the way like I would have created a pen and paper dungeon and the way that I would have
Mm.
envisioned it. Right
Yeah.
down to like the spiral stair and this, under the statue. That's something I would do in pen and paper, and I really like that.
Yeah. I don't even really mind the one that's in the. I mean, the one that has the courtroom at the end. The courtroom's kind of weird, but it feels a little more Alice in Wonderland than I think I was expecting to show up in DDO. But like, I don't mind the like circle that you can run around in and kind of keep going back to different spots. I actually think that's kind of a decent way of doing a non-linear dungeon. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that one was. I think the only thing they should do is probably shorten the dance part a bit. I think it's a little bit long at the end for the dance part, but yeah, it's okay.
I've only run that quest once, and I ran it with
Oh, yeah?
ran it with someone who was like, "We are not doing the dance."
Yeah, I'm never gonna do the dance again until they make it shorter. And I think recently in a patch they fixed it so if you, I think, find all the evidence. I don't know if you have to do all 3 parts or not. All 3.
If you do everything, you get another chest.
You have to do everything. Okay,
I
yeah,
think so,
it's
yeah.
probably too much work. Just shorten. SSG, just shorten the dance part. Just make it like half as long as it is, and then it'd be good.
All right, so that's the updates. The last thing I kind of want to touch on is hardcore, because that's a big part of our game now. I think we can all agree. So we had hardcore season 5 started a year ago in December and went through like the beginning of February. We had hardcore season 6, which was let's see, it ended in October, so it started in July, something like that. And then season 7 is going now, and so it's December to February again. So it comes out to be 5 months of hardcore, which I was telling these guys before the show. It felt like more. Like we had a hardcore season open more than that. But maybe that's just because like the back end's so loaded, right? Like for the last 5 months had a hardcore league open.
Yeah, it's certainly been open a lot. And
Hopefully,
it seems like that's going to be a trend going forward, if I had to guess. Could be wrong.
I don't think you're wrong.
But I did season 5 this year. I didn't do 6, and I'm not going to do 7. But for me, it's and I think Voodoo feels the same because that's what he said on his stream the other day. But unless there's a reward I want, I'm really not interested. And even for me, like I just don't play enough, and I don't want to at the same time ignore my characters on the main servers. So if there's something that's 1750 favor or level 20 that I want, I'm willing to go after it. But if something's like 5K is just it's just gonna take too long. I'm just not gonna do 5K. The one thing I would like to see them do with hardcore, I don't know if this is possible. I would like to see some things that are challenging but shorter, so that I could accomplish it maybe in a weekend or two. Like maybe I don't know if they can do this, but how about like a level 10 reward, but you have to play the entire time at R5 or higher, something like that. If it's possible, I would love that. I don't know if that's possible for them to do, but something challenging but shorter.
I like it.
R5 and higher on a first lifer sounds horrifying.
Yeah. Hey, or maybe make it R4 or higher.
I would point
Just
out
something.
it
something
doesn't have
like
to be a
that.
first lifer. You could go to 20 and reincarnate. It's an option.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
sure that
will
makes
say
it better, but
Prior to season 5, I had very little experience on hardcore. In season 1, I went to 20. I liked the sash. There was a reward I liked. I went for that. That was super easy and fast. I didn't like any of the rewards in 2, 3, or 4, so I didn't even bother. Season 5, they brought back the bloody footprints. I would have gone for them the first time, but there was the whole thing where, like, at first you were the only one that could see them, and then they changed it, and by the time they changed it and I realized it, it was too late. So I'm glad that they brought back that and gave us a chance to get that, and it kind of seems like we're going to do like new season and then revisit an old one, new season, revisit an old one, which is fine by me. So season 5 was the first time I went to 5K. Had a blast. Season 6 went to 5K and then way beyond. Had a blast. The wings, gorgeous, so beautiful. A plus, A plus. I love it. That's the kind of reward I'll go for. You know, I don't want another horse with a fancy saddle. You know, but give me the ability to fart some pixie dust and I'm in. But season 7, since it was just same thing, same stuff in season 2, I'm gonna skip it.
I will point out that they probably actually have the capacity to make you fart pixie dust because there's the confetti feat that like has the confetti pop around you.
Give me some
totally
cosmetic confetti and I'll go to 5K. Hell yeah. I want some confetti.
Here's my relationship with hardcore now is like when season 1 came out, it was fresh, it was exciting, it reinvigorated my love for DDO. Like it came at that time where if it hadn't come out another 3 months, I might have stopped playing for a bit. Like maybe in 2 months. So that was great. I got the fairy wings in 6, and boy howdy did it just feel like much more of a chore than I was expecting it to be by the time I did it. Like it was just like so much more of a chore. I'm with Alex. Like I would love to see some different challenges, different things. I like the idea of it like shorter things. Like give me something different to do. Like the 5K. You could make me fart pixie dust, and I'm not sure I'd go for 5K again. Like, it just takes too much time and adds too much. Like, it makes it like I have to get this done by this time, and it's too much of a job for me now. So, and maybe that's just because I'm trying to do it with like a bunch of different people now. Like when I go and do it, it's like, all right, now I'm trying to schedule like 5 people to get together and do it, and it's a pain in the ass. But
yeah, I mean, it's a grind even if you don't die. I mean, imagine if you got to 3.5K and then died. You know, it's just,
I mean,
it's
I
too long.
watched someone die at 4,950 favorite.
Oh, man. I feel so bad. But yeah, I did 1750. I did make it to 1750, but that's as far as I'm going to go. I did that in season 5, but I'm not. It's just even that was kind of long for me just because I'm still going to play my character. I'm not going to only play hardcore. I'm still going to play my other characters on the main server. So,
yep. But I mean, I like that we have hardcore. It's Yob in the chat is asking if it's enough of a cash cow to run almost half a year. I think the answer is clearly yes. It's cheap to do, and it puts it out there. I'm still going to take a moment to get on my soapbox that I want the champions on hardcore to populate on the live server, at least occasionally. They were fun, different champions, love it. So, you know, great.
Ooh, I want to be critical about something.
Go for it.
So I loved the season 6 wings, but I hated how overbearing those hounds were for low level tunes. They were so murderous that the hardest part of hardcore season 6 was like level 1 through 3. You know, they should have made it so that they didn't appear until like at least level 3, kind of like champions, because they were just like the difficulty was so front loaded that I think it was so frustrating experience for a lot of people. It made them just say, forget it. These hounds are ridiculous.
The hounds are
They
very
weren't bad
anti-solo.
later on.
Hounds are very anti-solo. Like, it messed with a lot of people's play style. I'm curious what would happen if you'd have played season 4. I bet you might have had the same experience with the mimics. Kind of
yeah, see, I don't like it that they're making hardcore more difficult. I think it's already challenging enough. I really feel for the people who struggle to get the things that they want, because I really want more people to, you know, if they put in the effort, to be able to get the things that they want. And a 5K, yeah, maybe that's really easy for a lot of veteran players, but it's not easy for a giant part of our player base. You know, if they made this, you know, if they don't make it harder, you still got leaderboard. The people who want to be Uber, they still got leaderboard. You know, you can still go and compete with all the top end players for being the best. of the best, sir. But let them eat cake.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like I think the biggest critique of hardcore too is it just popped in the chat. It takes away from the live servers.
Hardcore really, to me, the fact that you got everybody, not everybody, but people from all the servers coming together and it's really active, just really like, I know there's technical issues, but in my perfect world, like that makes me realize how much I want that mega server, that I really want the whole game to be brought together.
Yep.
Yep.
I agree. So there you go. That's 2022, in twice as long as I said it was going to take us to talk about. That feels like par for the course. We have opinions. Let's kind of put a bow on the whole thing, and I'll start. This year for me, the standout is how much more options we have for building. Like that was a clear theme this year to me, right? The imbues, the archetypes, Tabaxi to a lesser extent, like that feels like where a lot of the wins were this year, is in the like what you can do from a building standpoint. In particular, when you start talking about like the multi-classy, weird hybrid-y type builds, like it feels like they got more love this year than just about anybody.
Well, for me, I mean, Skeletons in the Closet was the highlight for me of this year, and I want to see more raids next year. Hopefully, more raids of that quality.
I was most enthusiastic about 2022 than any year for the last decade in DDO, but at the end of it, unenthusiastic is the best word that describes how I feel about it now after it's all over. There were definitely some high points. Like I said, Skeletons in the Closet is my favorite raid in the SSG era. We have some brilliant augments along the way. Dinosaurs, beautiful. Isle of Dread, beautiful. Love the wings in Hardcore Season 6. But, I just said, maybe I had such high hope. Maybe I just built it up to be too much. And like I said, I really wanted more out of Isle of Dread.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, 2023. Any things you want to see? Any things you think you're gonna see? Well, we don't know a whole lot about it yet, so.
More raids, server merge. What else? Those are the two biggest things.
Rescalable UI for people who have, high res monitors. I think that's on their radar. Cosmetic wardrobe, even though I'm not into cosmetics, but that would be a good ad, and I think that's also on their radar.
Yeah, cosmetic storage. We need that so bad. I mean, even just for the good of the game. I just always feel like they're throwing money away by not having that available. Like, I would definitely spend more money on cosmetics. A lot of games out today, really, one of their biggest revenue sources is cosmetics. So I want to see the game do well.
Yep.
Let's hope that they make the shared crafting storage. Let's update that part to match the rest of the, searchable, sortable stuff, tabs and stuff, because they didn't touch that.
Can we start by
hopefully-
making things stack bigger in there like they do in
Yes,
the bags?
definitely. There's
like,
problems
dear
with-
Lord Filigrees.
Yeah, filigrees are a problem. That freaking dimensional augment bag that used to be able to hold all the filigrees, but now can't even come close.
Yes, they need to add
At
crunching.
least it
for
can
filigree.
stack them higher, right? Like it can stack it to, I don't know what the hell it stacks to, but like the bank only stacks on the 5.
Yeah,
And there are some things, I was just showing this on my live stream the other day, how like those Fruit Loops from Mindsunder don't stack at all.
Uh-huh.
So if you happen to dump a green bag in there, you got 50, some of us veterans have like, 30, 40 of those of every color Fruit Loop. Every one of those are taking up a spot. It's not stacking 40. It's like 40 individual ones in there.
Yep. I have 2 ingredient bags in my shared bank that have stuff to not go into the crafting because it's how it stacks. So, and a dimensional augment bag in there to hold as many filigrees as it can. So, yay. I'm hopeful. The biggest thing that I'm kind of hopeful for is a Reaper revamp. I think that they're going to tweak Reaper a little bit. I'm hoping to see more Reapers. I think Reaper would be a fun place to put the other champions. Dump them all in. I'm game. Let's go. Make it crazy. I also am I think when that happens, you're gonna get shared Reaper XP across your account, which I think will be a huge thing, especially for less frequent players that have fewer Reaper points. I think that'll be a big help for a lot of them. But also, I kind of hope that Reaper gets a little scarier again.
I'm hoping for a 4th Reaper tree, big time, and for rewards beyond Reaper wings.
So I don't think that they're gonna do a tree. I think it's what they've kind of talked about is making it account wide and being able to share some of your power with other players, and having it be just a straight progression. So not something you have, because if it's a tree and you have to select it, then they can't share it or something like that. I think that's kind of the idea. Which I'm fine with. Like a straight progression, that'd be fine. I think that it'd be worth it to have the account wide thing. So it's just not a tree, right? It's just every Reaper point you get a bonus, and it just progresses the same way every time. Look, I get that it's less interesting and less buildy, which is maybe not the direction we necessarily want to go from a building standpoint, and that being a big part of what the game is. But I think the benefits outweigh that in the long run. Like sharing Reaper XP across account wide is just going to be huge for a lot of people.
Well,
then
Severlin has
going to be honest
mentioned.
with you. Oh, go ahead, buddy.
Oh, I was just going to say, Severlin has mentioned several times the possibility of them adding a ranking system instead of the trees. So he's mentioned that a lot. So it seems to me that that's something that will happen at some point. I'm also, on a different note, I'm expecting Reaper 11 to 15 at some point. I think it will happen. Probably not next year, but at some point. Because I just don't see them making the current Reaper 1 to 10 significantly harder without players kind of writing on the forums. So I think they'll probably just add more Reaper 11 to 15 options at some point.
If I already have one tune that has 175 Reaper points, or 76, 20 more than I can even spend. So if they make Reaper trees account wide and all other things stay the same, I'm done Reaper. I'm done, because that's it. I've got it all filled out. But as of right now, the way that it's not account wide, I'm like, okay, now I want to max out my other main, and then I'm going to work on this other character. But if it's just like account wide, I'm done, because there's nothing more for me to get.
It's account wide.
What?
Why does it stop at 156 if it's account wide?
Well, then they would have to add more trees.
It doesn't have to be a tree. It can just be a progression. But but like
some. That's right.
Let me put it this way. I think I can share this. I might get in trouble with this, but probably not. I just won't name names, right? Like I had a conversation with there was a dev that's having a conversation with me and some people in my guild, I think, and we were talking about like this idea of what if Reaper wasn't trees, it was just a straight progression, and it was account wide, and you could get way more points. Because there's a lot more points, it's really easy to add, right? It's just a plus. You don't have to design a tree to spend more points in. You just add more bonuses at the top or whatever. But, like, you realize how much Reaper XP 300 Reaper points is? That's a lot of Reaper XP.
Yeah, that gives me something to do.
Right. But I think that's kind of an idea. Is going away from trees and having it be a straight progression achieves a lot of their goals, and we want it to be able to share power with other players. We want it to be account wide, and also it makes it really easy to maintain because you don't have to design a new tree. You just Reaper points. We need something for Reaper points 300 to 400. Here's some bonuses that you just kind of populate, and maybe they kind of keep going the same progression or something, and you can make it really easy to go in perpetuity or something like that. But
I could see something like that done, right?
Yeah, I think you can. I think you can make that system, that not a tree system, really good, and players will like it. And I think, let's see if I can. I think if my math and formula is correct, I think 300 Reaper points is like 2.7 to the 10th times 10 to the 10th power or something like that. Reaper XP, like it's a lot of Reaper XP. So Because I think it's the whatever point it is cubed times 1,000. I think is how you get what your total Reaper XP needs to be. But everyone runs Reaper now. I mean, people who run Reaper now are gonna run Reaper now anyways. But look, here's the big thing: making it account wide means that player who's wanting to play 6 characters, but is only playing like half as much as we are, or at least I am, can get up there. Oh, it's only squared. Okay, squared times 1,000. Yeah, something like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, that would be
I'm
huge
not
for
sold
me
on the
because
account wide thing.
yeah, like I don't have wings or anything. Like my main character only has like I think I'm at 45 on my main character, and then my secondary characters have like 2 or 3. It's mostly because I stay in game and raid a lot on non-Reaper, but still, I mean, that would be huge for me if I could actually, especially these days in DDO. I mean, running an alt it's a lot of time, and it's just I don't really have time to get an alt up to 50 Reaper points, whatever. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Why does it need to be account wide? So I was corrected. It's squared, not cubed. So it's 90 million Reaper XP is 300 points. Like that's almost 4 times as much Reaper XP to get that you need to get to 156. Like there's a lot of room there. So
Not everybody plays Reaper. Just shout out to the folks who
Right.
don't. Some people don't like it. It's fine.
Well, but I mean, that said, most people do play Reaper nowadays. I mean, there's not a
Yeah, I
lot of
think
LFMs. I
But I
kind of feel
think
bad for new players nowadays as well because there's not. I
yeah.
don't really see many elite LFMs or definitely not any hard or normal LFMs anymore.
But like it's
That's where the sharing power comes in and
Right.
why they need to add that.
sharing power comes in for that, makes it more accessible to those players. Also, again, like if you're sharing that Reaper XP across your account, it's less of a barrier. It feels less like a barrier of success, I guess. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, and
that's where I
some
hope we
players.
go.
Yeah, and there are some players who are not interested in Reaper. I understand there's players who are out there, but it's a dwindling minority of players these days.
I don't know. I don't like. I honestly don't like the idea of somehow like this power sharing thing because there's already kind of that effect. Like if you can find some folks to run you through some higher stuff, like a person can run with a Reaper savvy group at higher skulls and be very successful. Whereas if they try to solo it or something, or or that they will struggle in lower skulls. Where if
Yeah,
they're grouping with others that are more Reaper savvy, they can do quite well in that environment.
I think a lot of people undersell how much fun they can have in Reaper with an experienced Reaper group when they're not, and they also overestimate how much people are going to not want them to join and not like. I think most people who are doing don't really care. If most people, if they're putting up an R10 LFM and you don't have a lot of experience running Reapers, they probably don't care that much. Like they're putting up an LFM anyways. They're looking for pugs anyways. Like you'd probably be fine. That's kind of my general thing. But some people don't want to run it. That's fine. Run lower stuff. I mean,
Ooh, other thing I'm looking forward to for 2023. Whatever they want to do with VIP, improved VIP
sure.
offerings.
Yeah,
Looking
please.
forward to that.
Something fun. Yep.
Looking forward to whatever the next expansion and classic module will be too.
Yep.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Patrick. Whereas most groups that are running Reaper really aren't going to mind. I mean, unless it's like R10, then yeah, you shouldn't join unless you're on a good character. But if it's just like an R4, R2, R3 group, you're like people shouldn't feel like you have to have an uber amazing character to enter that. You don't. Even First Life, you'll be fine if you die a bunch. Not 90%, 95% of groups, probably 99% of groups I join, don't care. It's fine.
Yeah. If you're concerned about it, ask them if they care. They'll probably say
And
no.
99% of the time, yeah, 99% of the time they won't care. I mean, Reaper is not these days. It's not this huge, mode as it was originally introduced as for like elite characters. It's just kind of become, for better or worse, it is what it is. It's really become the normal mode for DDO.
Changing Reaper is not going to change the fact that people run it a lot. Like people already do that, and that's how they enjoy the game. Like if you want to get more people, find more people to be able to run stuff on epic normal or hard or heroic normal and hard, server merges. Like that's
Yes,
they
please,
are
please,
different
please.
problems, solving different problems. So, all right. I'm gonna.
One more.
Oh, go for it.
I want to see another free-to-play push. I hope they capitalize on the D&D movie. I would like to see them coincide an event, a free-to-play push, something to try to capitalize on interest that will hopefully be generated in DDO because of the D&D movie.
Yep.
That's what I think they're doing, because they just, I think they had a code for Lotro that just expired at the end of October, I believe. So I think that's what they're doing. I think they're going to wait and then push whenever the movie comes out in March.
Yep.
Just a theory.
Maybe that could be fun. All right. I'm gonna cruise through a little bit of game news because we haven't covered it yet. Update 57 patch 1 dropped on Wednesday, December 7th. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah. In any case, so the big thing here is the Jester's back. Coins are dropping. They changed the coins again. Like they do every year. There were some fixes. There was the change to cooldown of skills that was released for update 57 has been reverted because it was causing more problems. There was also some of the hit point stuff was stacking incorrectly as an insight bonus that should now stack correctly. Let's see. There was an issue with players' creature companion stable not appearing correctly, so if you experience missing stables recently, you should have them returned. Wish for Memories now function properly for half-elves and humans. That's probably good. Spell absorption items no longer block harmful effects used in beneficial ways by players. The party members. I think, is there a hotfix that I missed in here somewhere? I think they fixed that. Anyways, yeah. I think that was rumored to be the cause of like they had to shut the servers down or something, reverted or something. Oh, there was like a brief thing where like you could kill the raid, solo a raid in like a minute because they were just like super vulnerable or something. I don't remember. Let's see. Any other things that are fun in here? Some enhancements that add ability modifiers to weapons no longer erroneously override each other. Bunch of stuff got added to monster manuals. Some fixie stuff. Well, the ability restoration benefit of Panacea now works on undead, and Second Wind now works if you are death warded. Probably helpful. We talked about they added the chest for completing all of Order in the Court. I think that kind of covers most of the stuff. Yeah. The 150 favor reward for Morgrave is now functional. If you turned it in and didn't get it, they're going to give it to you in the future in another patch, but that hasn't happened yet, so you still don't have them. Oops. That happens surprisingly frequently.
Yep, that's me. I went and claimed it, and it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Sad.
On 2 tunes.
I feel like this it feels like every time they've added like the 5 hit point thing, or even I think it was even a universal enhancement tree. Like you went and claimed it, and there was nothing there, and then they added it later. But if you'd already claimed it, you could get it. Like, guys, come on, been over this a few times. December deals are continuing. I recognize that these are going to end tomorrow, but right now you can get 35% off of Omnispell, Dust and Stones, 50% off the Alchemist class, and 75% off the Eating Star Challenge pack. Hey, Axel, how high was the Eating Star Challenge pack on your buy list there?
I didn't even mention it. I totally forgot to do the challenges. Yeah, I actually forgot the challenges, and I also forgot I had to add a pinned comment on YouTube because I also forgot Haunted Halls and Thunderholm because they're only under the Epic tab in the DDO store.
Oh, nice.
So yeah,
Haunted Halls is fun.
Sadness.
I like Haunted Halls.
I was a recommended buy. I was telling viewers a recommended buy on Eating Star Challenges. I do them every life.
Well, I know at least the Caneth challenges you need to unlock Artificer. I believe you have to have the favor from those to unlock Artificer. So
not anymore.
Oh yeah, because they had the legendary
Because they
raid.
had the
So maybe
legendary
not
raids.
anymore. Yes,
Yes.
maybe not anymore. True.
But yeah, the E-Star is pretty easy, good XP.
Yeah, I don't know who.
For lobby epics, it's good XP, and you can the mats that you get from them, you can buy Chimerian weapons. That's sentient food.
Yep. You can also get 25% off of select mounts, Mirrors of Glamoring, Glamored Weapon Auras, Keep on the Borderland bonus items, and White Plume bonus items through December 22nd. You can also get 5 potions of superior efficiency for freed with sup efficacy, SUPEFFICACY through December 22nd. So there you go. That's kind of the highlights. Voodu, why don't you plug your stuff?
Hey, you can find me live streaming on my Twitch channel, Voodoo Spice, every weekday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. Uncle Voodoo Morning Show. Good morning, coffee and chat. I stream raids on Friday night. You can catch me on DDO stream. That's DDO's Twitch channel. On Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. You can find me on YouTube, where I have over 1,000 DDO videos, quest walkthroughs, raid guides, crafting tutorials, and so much more, including my newly debuted Voodoo Warlock 2023 series.
Kind of early. Is it like the cars, right? Like it's the 2023 model, but it starts selling in 2022.
It was supposed to be the
Voodoo
Voodoo
stream,
Warlock
it's really good.
2022 series, but it just got delayed so many times. So I figured if I'm going to debut it in December, I might as well call it Voodoo Warlock 2023, because it's going to go through like half of 2023.
I think that was a good call.
Yeah. Axel?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube, Axel's DDO channel on YouTube. I have hundreds of videos over there, so you can watch me talk about the game for hours and hours and hours. And I also have a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/AxelAlexK. I'm usually streaming, usually on Saturdays, not this weekend because it's Christmas Eve, but normally like early afternoons Eastern time on Saturdays. You can find me there, and then sometimes during the evenings and during the week.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Thanks to, well, before I get the rest into that, I do have a producer's note announcement for DDOCast. I kind of alluded a little bit at the beginning of the show. The short version is I am going to be retiring as DDOCast host and producer. Like, that is happening. It's been great. It's been a privilege and an honor. Thank you. It's been a privilege and an honor to be your host for the last 9.5 years, I think. So I've been doing it for a long time. It's time. I started, let's see, end of August in 2013. So that's how long I've been doing this. It's been a lot of fun. I am not in a place where I can keep doing it. That's really just kind of the reasoning, if anyone is wondering why. With that, we haven't been able to identify a new host. So I don't know what this is going to look like going in the future. I'm not necessarily going to say that this is going to be my last show, but it may very well be my last show. The show is at least going to be on going dark for a little bit while some of that gets figured out. Maybe someone will step up and reach out, and we'll kind of figure out what that looks like. I don't know what that means for the podcast with Cyber Ears ending and the podcast ending there. I don't know where it's going to be, if it's going to be somewhere hosted and stuff. Cyber Ears has been amazing and was hosting it for the show for free. So doing another hosting option costs money, and so there's questions around that and passing it off. Maybe kind of, look, I don't know. There's a lot of things that are unknown here. Other than the fact that Patrick is not going to continue being the host of DDOcast. There will, like I said at the beginning, this stuff will still be available on YouTube, on Twitch, on our website. I'll probably even still be streaming on DDOcast on Twitch, playing when I play. We'll probably still be into Annihilation doing that. So I'm not like completely disappearing, but this podcast in its current form is no longer tenable for me in my current life. But it's been a blast. Thank you for listening and all that fun stuff.
Patrick, I had a blast on here. It's so much fun. This is my 100th. This will be my 100th episode with you on DDOcast. And you reached out to me over 8 years ago before I was even a content creator. You had heard I was doing these teaching raids, and that's why you invited me as a guest on the show. I didn't even know what the heck DDOcast was. And yeah, this is now my 100th episode. I just had such a wonderful time. So thank you for all the great times and great memories. And you did an awesome job, and appreciate you.
Yeah,
And I
same
wish you
thoughts
the
here.
best.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, for your time. I've been a fan of DDOcast since Siegfried and I think Siegfried, Trent, and Ann were doing it, and I remember when you took over, and I've been listening this whole time. So, yeah, you've done an awesome job.
Yeah, and
So thank you.
You're welcome. Like I said, it's been a privilege and an honor to be in this role for the community. It's been a lot of fun. I'm a little sad that it's not going to continue for me. I hope it does continue. I will answer the questions. I would be happy to pass this on to someone. I just don't know who that is. I've asked some people, and for one reason or another, they've all declined. It can be a little tricky to find that person. So, like I said, I don't know what it's going to mean for DDOcast going in the future. If you're listening to this and you think you want to reach out, ddocast@gmail.com. I'd love to find someone to pass this off to. I just don't know who that is, which means I don't know what this show looks like going forward. I made it my own. The Trents made it their own. It was Jerry's thing before that, right? So, but at least in the near term, you can still find the stuff on YouTube at our website, DDOcast.com, and we'll still be on Twitch. I'll probably still be streaming stuff. I might still pop up in other places. Like, I'm not disappearing completely. I just can't be the host anymore. That's really kind of where it's at. So
Life happens, man.
it does. And there's some sadness there, but also I'm kind of excited for what's going on in my life and in a lot of ways. So like, that's just where it's at. But thanks to you guys for being here today. A huge thanks to all the folks over the last 9 years that have made DDOcast what it has been for me, and it's helped make that for all of you that are listening. Thank you very much for listening. It's kind of special that, this is my 392nd show hosting. I don't know how many I guested on before. You people have been listening to me talk and drone and exposit my thoughts and feelings, and interrupting my guests that also have opinions for the last 9 years plus. So, it says a lot about the community and that you put up with me for that long. So, and thanks to Staying So Games, those folks have always treated me very kindly. I really wish I could have got another Ask the Devs in the last 8 months since I did one the last time. But like I said, and I've been bad about it. It's been hard to get shows in. It's just always kind of confirming it's time for me to move on, and this is too much for my life in its current state. So that's where we're at. Hey, if you have comments on this show, you can leave a comment wherever you find this. You can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. Visit our website and all that fun stuff. Like I said, it's been an honor and privilege, and yeah, that's kind of where we're going. Again, thanks. So may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chests level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs. Thanks for listening.